BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy.
Nah, I got you. Dan's not here. He's got COVID.
Oh no. Did he wash his hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he did, but... Oh, sorry. Hi, Ed's here.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I came in too early. Should we do that again? Wait, just run
No,
the
it's
theme tune
absolutely
again.
fine,
Run
buddy.
the theme tune again. We'll do it again. We'll get it in post.
All right, fine. Hold on. We'll do it live.
BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed a welcome to a podcast called BRB UK. This is BRB UK, episode 533. I am Coleman. Hi! We've got no Dan, because like I said in the intro, that is definitely still staying there. No, it's staying there. I'm not cutting out. This is a whole bit we're doing. A goof, a gaff. Dan's been he's been struck by a smooth COVID-19. Tim, where's Tim? Well, he was really looking forward to coming and talking about VR again for another 7th hour, I think, on this show about PSVR 2. I think that's about right if you tally them up. But he's actually still talking to Kev about VR on VRB. They stopped recording, but he's still going. Kev's still there patiently waiting for him to say, Tim, we've actually finished recording. You've got to stop talking about VR. Tim, please. My children they wonder what their father looks like now. Why have you forsaken me with this talk of virtual insanity? To be honest, which is, and then it just keeps on going like that, really. Anyway, VRB's back. You can go listen to episode 3 after a 5-year hiatus of episode 2. So go check that out on the feeds. Anyway, I'm Coleman once again. Hi, here is Ed.
Hey everyone. Chris, am I going over?
You are going over, my friend.
Nice.
Very happy to have you on the show. It's good. I miss when we have these shows where we get to talk and not get interrupted about VR.
Yeah. Can I just ask you, can you just play the down soundbite again?
The down soundbite. Which one would you like? The
hello?
Or,
yeah, hello, and dude, hoy hoy.
Here you go.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy.
It just reminds me of, you know, the episode of The Simpsons where Homer imagines, like, having Marge's hair, and he just goes, I don't need her at all anymore. That's the soundboard now.
I'm so happy to be doing the show.
I don't need her at all anymore. That's.
I mean, I do have this one for my private time.
Love you, Coleman.
Thanks, Dan.
You could at this point just do an episode by yourself with the soundboard. I don't think most people would notice.
We're getting there. I have threatened. We do have the tech to make up text-to-speech AI programs. So I have threatened many times to do that. Kind of waiting for a different version of it to come out before I start playing around with that stuff properly. But for the meantime, you've got a soundboard, isn't that right, Tim?
Can't substitute Coleman.
Correct. Let's on with the show, because we got things to be talking about, and I've got to say to you, Ed, last week I was talking about Like a Dragon Ishin, which is the new title from the Like a Dragon series, formerly known as the Yakuza series, but isn't a numbered title because it's a kind of sort of a, not quite a spin-off, but a separate story starring the same cast of characters as different characters. They've been recast. Their models, their voice actors, they've all gone elsewhere, and now we're doing kind of feudal Japan type storylines. And I know you to be, I mean, out of all the people I know you to be the biggest Like a Dragon / Yakuza fan. Yeah. And I know that we had a very long conversation last year at some point where you were telling me how excited you were for Ishin and that it never came out in the UK, and that's kind of rubbed off on me. And the last time we were talking about this, you were expressing your enjoyment, much to the point that I went home and went, you know what, I'm going to pre-order Like a Dragon Ishin. So how are you finding it now? You finally got it in your hand. And also, before we start, the platform you picked it up on, was that PC like me, or
PlayStation
did you go
5
for a console? PlayStation 5. Okay. See, I went for the Steam Deck version. I think you're missing out by not playing it on Steam Deck, having it at your hands all times.
Well, okay, first of all, did you say feudal Japan or frugal Japan? Because those are two very different things.
I think I might have said frugal Japan. This is why we need the AI text to speak, because I could go in post and change that.
Well, you know, they were quite frugal in feudal Japan, I guess.
Yes, they were. They were very...
So it works.
I know, because in that game you could do competitions and lotteries and stuff, and you could win a piece of paper or a broken piece of wood. So I think they were quite frugal in those days.
Hey man, they just didn't have iPhones. That's it. If they had iPhones, it'd be a lot different. But no, basically, I took the entire week off of work to play Like a Dragon Ishin, which sounds pathetic, but when you consider how many games I have to play all the time, it was probably the most smartest decision I have made all year. So played it on PlayStation 5, sat down, just played it until I'd finished it. I think I've looked about 65 hours into it overall, done all the sub-stories, I've beaten the secret boss, and basically the only stuff left to do is like the really intense grinding. So it's like the stuff where you need to play for like 40 hours to...
Oh, no,
smith
I've already
all
done the
swords.
bathhouse level.
Yeah, no, that's the best point. That's everything's downhill from there, my friend. That's a lie. The game does get really, really good. But yeah, that is a very good highlight, is the beginning when you're doing the bathhouse fight. I just... if people don't know, there is a scene very early on where you and someone who is modelled to look like the villain from Yakuza Kiwami 2 have a fight in a bathhouse, and they've rendered all the graphics, so there's just like giant clouds of steam around the genitals. But you can tell that like someone on that development team was having a lot of fun with that one. That's all I'll say.
It is a very good scene. The big man, or the giant man, I think he's introduced as, but I really enjoyed that. And that was the whole thing of we were talking about this last week on the show, and it was a point of me going, this is really funny. And then I finished the fight and sort of looked around and went, oh yeah, I'm on public transport.
See, yeah, I probably, if I didn't take time off to play it, to complete it, I probably would have played it on Steam Deck. So, because it, like, one of the fun things about the Like a Dragon series is that you can sort of like drop out the story at any point and go and do like all the mini games. It is basically a series that relishes in its mini games. So like Ishin's quite similar to that in terms of you've got like the barracks missions where you can go off and like do little mini dungeons to fight enemies. There's the karaoke, there's the farming sim aspect. There's tons of stuff to do in the games all the time. Like it's really, really difficult actually to find a stopping point for me a lot of the time. And I was very much sort of sitting down going, okay, I'll just do this one last thing and then I'll go to sleep. And then it's 2 hours later, I'm like, I'll just do another round of shogi and then I'll... sort of thing. So it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is a very entertaining game. And again, I've now got to that point where I've gone, okay, I need to install this on my home PC so I can sort of jump between the two, play it on one and cloud sync it over to the other.
Yeah.
Because before I've been playing this on the move, but then I'll get to the point where I go, right, okay, get on the tube, pull out the Steam Deck, everything's preloaded, excellent, let's jump in. And then I start a dialogue thing going, and then I go, right, now let's get into, I'm at my destination. I need to start playing this in my actual spare time as well as just on travels as well. But
yeah,
it's really good for that. And I do like, because when they initially showed this off, now I didn't know anything about the previous game being just a Japan-only game, and didn't look into this at all. So I know about the silliness of the Yakuza Like a Dragon series, and in fact that the reason that, because initially they launched these things, they started showing these things off when years and years ago, and I went, I love the idea of that. I want to play that game. And then by the time it finally came out, I'd completely lost interest or forgotten about it. And it wasn't until Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon was coming out, and they were showing the silliness of that game. And I went, I really should get into these games because that looks hilarious. And with this one, I thought it was going to be more of a kind of serious, more hack and slash type game, but it is it is another Yakuza game in a different setting with more, a more versatile combat mechanics set to it, but the silliness is there as well. One of the kind of introductions I saw just before the game came out is somebody on YouTube playing it, and their thumbnail was the main character being in like a man thong with a chicken head on, mask on his on while he's doing karaoke, and it said, yes, it is a Yakuza game. So I'm glad the silliness is still there.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know that much about Ishin, essentially it's based off of it's a fictionalized account of the Great Restoration era of Japan. So like it's a sort of not like legend like King Arthur or anything, but basically in Japan there was someone who basically helped put Japan in its current state. So they moved the capital from what is now Kyoto to like Tokyo, and basically like stopped everyone feuding because it was like quite a divided country. And this is like a very fictionalized account of that.
It's based on true events.
It's based on true events, but there's a lot of points where it diverges and gets very silly. Yeah, so the main sort of like character of the legend, Sakamoto Ryoma, is based on Kazuma Kiryu in the games. So Kazuma Kiryu from, Yakuza 1 to 6 plays Sakamoto Ryoma, and then all the different characters. So the original version that came out as a PlayStation 4 launch title only had characters up to Yakuza 5, where for Ishin they added in characters from 6 and Like a Dragon. So yeah, there were some recastings. They brought certain characters back. Oh, Yakuza 0 as well. And so yeah, it's very interesting to see, because there's quite like a nice bonus for people who have played Like a Dragon game before, where certain characters have been cast in roles that, let's say, if you know how their stories develop in the other games, become like very apt positions for them to be in the story. So,
Right.
like, I can't really spoil anything, but say, for example, there is a character called the Butcher in Ishin who is based on Nishiki, who is Kazuma Kiryu's like very close friend in Yakuza 0, and who goes on his own path in Kiwami 1. And basically, the way his character develops in Ishin, his character arc is quite similar to the one that he has in Yakuza 0 and Kiwami. So it's quite nice to have like that bonus. But the really important thing about Ishin, I would say, is that you can go in cold. You don't need to have played the other Like a Dragon games. And the other thing that I think is really advantageous is, so I think I've said this to you in private, Coleman, but I feel like Ishin, because it was like the original version was released at the launch of the PlayStation 4, and that was very close to when they originally released Yakuza 0. So in terms of gameplay mechanics and like, the way that the worlds are built, the way that characters behave and act, and like, minor flaws in the games, the closest one that you can jump off from Ishin, I would say, is 0. Like, you'll have the closest gameplay experience. Like, if you really like Ishin and you're like, I want to play the other games now, the easiest one to jump onto after that would be 0. And then you go through in chronological order. So you do Kiwami, Kiwami 2, go back and play 3, 4, 5 HD, then 6, then Like a Dragon. Because the tricky thing I always say is that while Like a Dragon is a good starting point for some people, I feel if you have any intention of going back to the previous ones, the problem with Like a Dragon is that it spoils everything that happens in the first 6 games.
Right.
The later chapters in the game basically go, so here's everything that happened in all of the previous games, and here are the consequences of everything that happened in the previous games. And here's all these people who you don't know, but they're really important. But the fact that they are alive is kind of a spoiler as well, because a lot of people have like uncertain fates and stuff in the series. So, yeah, I'd say definitely dive into Ishin. It's absolutely fantastic. After that, 0 is always very cheap on Steam sales. If not, it's available on PlayStation Plus
They
Extra.
all get very cheap.
Yeah, they all go down to like, because I think you can get Yakuza 0 for like,
£3.74, I think I paid for
Yeah.
0 and 1 and 2.
Yeah, because I've bought like 5 copies of 0 for friends, and I've bought them all at £3.74. So
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's cool that is a thing on Steam, and they all play really well on Steam Deck, which is great for me. Because the problem I had is when they put them all on Game Pass at one point, I went, I'm going to get into the Yakuza series. Downloaded 0, played a bunch of 0, didn't complete it. Review games started coming in, and I kind of put it aside and then forgot about it, and then kept going, I should go back to 0 at some point. And then once I saw that they were all on Steam and they work on Steam Deck, and they went down to like £3.74 or whatever it was, picked up 0 and then the next couple of entries as well, put 0 on my Steam Deck, and it's like now I can get into that game in my spare time while I'm reviewing things as well. Like that could be my lunch break at work or whatever. So I'm glad that because I get a lot of before I got the Steam Deck, I got a lot of Nintendo Switch time in when I was also playing stuff on the PlayStation 5. Like that Switch is only ever docked for charging, not for playing video games on the TV. So it's a similar thing with the Steam Deck. It's always out and portable, and these games are perfect for that, I think. And I'm really looking forward to, once I've done Ishin, I can go back and I have a better understanding of the mechanics for playing Zero now. And
Yeah.
I think I'll enjoy it more than when I was initially playing it. It is going to be sad going around Tokyo and looking at all the Sega arcade machines arcades that don't exist anymore.
It is heartbreaking. And then, but yeah, like I think Ishin is a great Trojan horse to get you into playing Zero, and then Kiwami is remade so it's the original PlayStation 2 game, remade entirely like from scratch using the engine of Zero. So you can pretty much go straight from Ishin, Zero, Kiwami without missing a beat, essentially. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. They're a fantastic series. And this is the year that Coleman gets really into Like a Dragon. And the next time I'm on here, it's just basically going to be a 2-hour-long podcast of us talking about the Like a Dragon series. Like, we're not even going to warn you. We're going to put like a stupid title, like, you know, Coleman's like new wig is going to be the episode title, and then it's surprise, it's 2 hours of Like a Dragon discourse.
No, it will be a bait and switch. We'll write like Half-Life 3 finally confirmed ? And then it'll all be about Like a Dragon and Yakuza.
And half of it would just be me singing the karaoke songs.
Well, I did mention Game Pass in there somewhere in that conversation, and that does transfer over to the next topic, because I've been playing Wolong Fallen Destiny, which, if you don't know, that is a new, I guess Souls-like is the term we're sticking with, although I think there should be a different term used there. But that is from Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, which that's kind of a sort of lineage of Dynasty warriors, and more importantly, Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise.
Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of that game, Ed.
Yeah, it's available now. All three downloadable all three pieces of downloadable content are out, including The Trials of the Dragon King, which features Bahamut, Wanderer of the Rift, that features Gilgamesh, and Different Future, which features the Emperor from Final Fantasy II.
Oh, good. Finally.
Very interesting stuff. And you can get that now on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and Epic Games Store, I believe.
Oh, the Epic Games Store. Good.
Yes, the Epic Games Store, yes. Fantastic series. I don't like... That's the reason you've been saying Your Chaos at the end of every episode, right? Because it's so good.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was the reason. I thought it was just to annoy you.
No, it doesn't annoy me. Like, I think it annoys Tim and Dan, but I'm enjoying it. It's viral marketing for me, baby. They go to me at work, what are you doing to promote this game? And I go, well, I've got one guy saying I've been Chaos at the end of every podcast episode for the last year. How's that translating to sales? I don't know.
We've got two knocked off people that will never play this game now. Well, anyway, you would think, I mean, I on paper, I would go, Team Ninja making a Souls-like game, I need to play this. That is something that I like the sounds of. And, you can do through Game Pass, like I say, available on Game Pass. You can play this on Xbox One, Series S, X, Game Pass for PC, but it's also available to outright buy on PlayStation 4, 5, and PC as well. And I went for the Game Pass option because, might as well, paying for Game Pass, give that a go. I have a Series S, booted it up on the Series S, and after a couple of hours playing, I thought, I really need to play this on something beefier, because the Series S, I mean, it's playable, totally playable at 60, but it ain't cutting it, because there are some caveats that you are having in place of the smooth, solid, shiny shines thrown at you. And so before I get into the actual gameplay, I will say I've taken a look at all the different versions you can play this game on, and the PC is something that I thought would be the one I'd be boosting it up on, but for some reason it's remapping my controls in a weird way, and I can't get them to go back. So I need to reinstall and figure that out. Maybe try it on the other PC, which tends to play games better anyway, and give that a try. So for the most, I've been playing it on S. This is one of those games that makes me go, I really wish I had an X, because apparently that is the best platform you can play this game on. And I think now we've... I'll come into reasons why later, but I think I keep saying this is the year I buy an X, and probably going to get hurried into that decision because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
But yes, you can play on S. You can play. I think it's at 900p, 60 frames a second, and you are taking a dip on things like textures, shadows. I think shadows on background objects and things just completely disappeared. Grass textures, cloth physics, like all this kind of stuff just either gets severely lessened or just disappears completely when you're going for the S. And it's a similar kind of situation as you're getting on the PlayStation 4 and on the Xbox One, I believe. So yeah, I would like to play this on something beefier because it is fun. It's something that's kind of, it's Han Dynasty China, and it's something that has been compared to Sekiro quite a lot, which is one of the Miyazaki Souls-like spin-offs.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't think, I think by going through the setting, yes, I can see why you would compare this to Sekiro, but by playing the game, I don't think that's very fair because Sekiro is incredibly tight. It knows you when you play that game, even though it's kind of an open area and there are branching parts and stuff, there is a specific way you need to be playing that game. This one is a lot more open, a lot more flowy, loosey-goosey kind of thing, and there's a lot of different ways of playing. What you're kind of doing is you have a character creator, like most of these games, quite an in-depth one as well for this type of game. Usually they look hideous in Soulsborne type games. This one I thought was very versatile, very open. It was just cool. And then you get thrown into kind of a training area where it kind of sets up the story, and then you go out and you hack up people, and before you know it, you come up against a boss, and he will kill you, instantly kill you. You might hold your own, but he will kill you. And he will kill you again and again and again and again. And it's basically saying, look, this is a stupidly hard boss because you need to hone the mechanics before you get past this point. And those mechanics really are the parry mechanic, because up to that point, you could probably comfortably get through hacking and slashing and getting to your save point, which are, in this case, are flags instead of bonfires, which you can use to upgrade and all that kind of stuff and grind and spend your skill points and like normal stuff that you get in these kind of games. But if you haven't mastered how to do the parry system, then you are going to fail going past this point. And it even got to a point where I think like the second time I was facing the boss, and I went, okay, I've got this, hit the final blow. And then he changes into like a second transformation, and then you've got to take him down. He's even harder than he was before. And it's a lot of griefing. And it took me a fair few hours to get through that one. I was a little bit embarrassed to say. I am not a master at these types of games. That's what we've got Kev for, but he's a bit busy this week.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, especially because like what you say with the first boss, where it's like deliberately really, really stupidly difficult. I don't know if people would agree that that's kind of what Father Gascoigne is in Bloodborne, but that is like the first wake-up call boss, I believe the trope is called, where it's like you have one boss that is like, okay, if you don't know the mechanics from here on out, you're going to have a really bad time. And
yeah.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance was also very much the same case with that, where like the first boss battle, I remember really struggling with trying to just play the game with hacking and slashing. And then it was like, as soon as you did the parry mechanic, it was over, basically. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, the big foe that is difficult to get past, it's always, especially in open area games, it's one of two things. It's there you've got to hone the mechanics, or you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Slyly telling you that's too high a level for you, come back to this point later.
Yeah.
The Father Gascoigne thing, that was one that always confused me because everyone was complaining about it. And that was a boss I beat on the first go, completely through fluke, apparently, because a lot of people got put off that game from that one boss game character and didn't come back to it. I've heard through podcasts and things.
I think I beat it like the second or third time, but it was very intense.
The way I kind of go in these games, every time one of these Soulsborne, Souls-like type games come out, they get announced, I'm not really that interested, and then as it starts building up, I get more interested, and I end up picking it up. I play it for a ridiculous amount of time, never complete it, but have a lot of fun playing it. And I think that would be the same with Wolong if it hadn't been for Elden Ring. Because I played so much of Elden Ring, and I know it's a year ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago for me, that I'm a little bit burnt out from trying to play other ones. And if it wasn't for covering it on the show, I probably would have installed this and then forgotten about trying to play it. But I do want to come back to this, and because it's got a really interesting hook to it, which is I think it's called a spirit system, and that's, as well as your health bar, you've got this spirit energy that you can use into magic and special attacks and that kind of stuff that goes down. But the way it builds up is you kind of working out a back and forth with the enemies that you fight. So that can be through blocking and parrying, but also sort of the parry and turn into the instant death kill, like someone will charge up and then their weapon will turn red and then you parry at the last second, and then as you do it you quickly hit attack and then you spin them around, stab them in the back and one shot them, and all that stuff's incredibly satisfying, and you watch the spirit meter go up the more you kind of do that stuff. So I really like that mechanic, and that's one I want to play around with more. But because of the show the way it is, I think WWE's out in like a week, so that will take all my focus after this. And then I've got a feeling if I do go back to a different Souls-like game, it's going to be Elden Ring before I get back to this, unless I go and get an X and then go, oh, I need to play some games on the X. This would be one of them, I think. But it is, I mean, definitely if you've got an X or if you've got a PS5 and you're looking for a new challenge, this is one to take a look at, especially if you can play on Game Pass as well. That's worth doing it. It is a pretty game. It's not the most beautiful game out of anything you could buy in this generation. And I was looking at the S version, but then when I was looking at other versions of the game, which you can play on a higher setting, I was thinking, wouldn't it be really cool? When do we get like the Souls-like game that has the AAA super realistic, high fidelity looking game, like the all singing, all dancing? Because every one of these games does look a little bit dated in some way. I think the only ones that have come through that haven't looked incredibly dated at the time for me was Sekiro. Everything else, it's got a little bit of a not last gen, but a couple of years prior feel to them.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see
who's
going to be the one to do that.
Supposed to be quite good. Like in terms of fidelity, graphically, the new Demon Souls by Bluepoint is supposed to be like beautiful.
Yes, and I did try that out. I do have that one on PS5 actually. I did try that out just to sort of go, yeah, that looks nice. But that's a remake of a different game. I want the new title, you know?
You want like the built from the ground up new gen. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
I want Elden Ring, but sexy shiny shines.
you want the next generation. You want the new generation. You want Elden Ring, but with Kevin Nash.
Yes, exactly
just Kevin Nash. Like you walk
drinking down his ooze and becoming a super shredder. Yeah, but that too. Yes. But and I'll probably get some flack for saying that, because I'm wondering if the kind of dated look is because they have to spend so long making these games. Maybe it is a kind of generation behind, or maybe that is a sacrifice you make to make these games play in the way they do. I don't know. I'm not a games developer, and I'm sure I could talk to someone and get chewed out about this in private at an event sometime when I suggest it.
Maybe.
But yeah, if you're into Souls-likes, then this is probably going to be one for you. Oh, and also if you don't have Game Pass and you want to give this a go, free demos everywhere. Go give this a try that way, which is good. I like free demos. You should do more of that.
Yeah, might have to after the show.
Yes, you do that too.
Yeah, I'll do some demos personally for you.
Free demos of everything.
Like, hey, if you like Square Enix games, a lot of our games do have demos for them in some form or another. So
good.
Yeah. And quite a few of them let you carry over your progress to the full game. So Octopath Traveler 2 does that. It lets you play like 3 hours, I think. Or the first 3 chapters.
Yeah, and the Triangle
Strategy also lets you carry it over.
Strategy.
Neo The World Ends With You. Stranger Paradise Final Fantasy Origin also does that.
I remember.
The Diofield Chronicle does that as well. And the Diofield Chronicle just had a large free update that adds some new quest lines. So wanted to do that.
He's always selling.
Oh yeah, I'm always on, baby.
He's a marketing machine.
Speaking of always on, I was going to say, can I have 30 seconds, 2 minutes to talk about what the other thing I've been playing?
You may plug the new game, Ed from Squeenix.
So basically, I'll try and keep this one quick, but the only other thing I've been playing since Ishin is there's a new visual novel. It's a supernatural mystery adventure from Square Enix, where I work, and it's called Paranormasight: The 7 Mysteries of Honjo. It's set in the 80s, so it's set around the time of like payphones and stuff like that, where you didn't have mobile phones. And the premise is basically throughout Honjo there are loads of like old wives' tales, and there's loads of superstitions. So, for example, there's stories that go back hundreds and hundreds of years. Of, for example, a man was hanged for lying, but none of the leaves ever fell from the tree ever again, and it became like a legend essentially in Japan. So the gameplay story is basically, what if these sort of mysteries and these old wives' tales manifested into curses that, when used, could be used to bring someone back from the dead. And so basically you are thrust in a role where you are given one of these curses and told, you can choose to kill people around you, or you can hunt down the other the curse bearers, but the other curse bearers will be trying to hunt you down as well. And so basically it's a visual novel where you go around, you try and solve the mysteries that are presented in the game, while also trying not to fall afoul of the curses that other people have. And, for example, like the curses that you're given are like puzzles in of themselves, or you have to solve a puzzle to get past someone else. So quite early on in the game, you're given a curse that allows you to kill anyone who walks away from you. And so the puzzle then comes from, how do you trick people into leaving you alone or to running away so that you can basically kill them while their back is turned? And
I find reading the Bible in public, that usually helps people leave me alone.
Ah, fair enough. So,
or not washing.
But yeah, the reason I brought it up, apart from the fact that I've been playing it, is that I finished it. I think the ending is absolutely amazing. I think story-wise, it's one of the better things that I've played in quite a while. So I wanted to sort of like plug that. And the other reason I was going to plug it as well is that for the first couple weeks of launch, so it's available on Steam and it's available on Nintendo Switch, there is a 20% discount for the first couple weeks of launch. So you can play it in about 8 to 10 hours to get all the endings, and it's about £12.79 at the moment of publication of this podcast. £12.79, 8 to 10 hours of gameplay. It's fantastic. The last time I checked, the Metacritic is like 85 plus. It's been getting 9s and 10s. So, really, really good time. Paranormasight, The 7 Mysteries of Honjo. Please check it out.
Cool.
Also, because my bonus depends on it.
Excellent. And if you don't buy it, just send Ed money.
Yes, please.
He needs money.
Look at the
all the
things in the background
he's got behind him.
If you're watching
he
the
needs
video,
to pay for all those.
Like, a lot of this is on like lease. Like they're gonna come back. You can't pay, take it away. They're gonna come and break my kneecaps. Like,
Bright house rentals. All of it. You're gonna bang, bang, bang. I've got a High County writ from the courts. I'm here to take your Shadow the Hedgehog plushie.
I'm here to take your Yakuza 6 The Song of Life special premium edition that comes with drinking glasses.
I'm after your Kirby's. Give me all your Kirby. No, not my Kirby's.
They can take my Kirby's from my cold, dead hands.
Excellent.
Right.
We've got to get through some news, Ed.
Yes, we do.
So having a bit of a change up on the show, I've been kind of doing it. I think we've trialed this in the past and it never works out, but sort of quicker things we can gloss over, smaller section, and then we've got the bigger ones that we can go through. So humor me, if you will, while I ask you, first of all, Dead by Daylight, you ever give that one a try?
Apart from Paranormasight, the 7 Mysteries of Honjo, I don't actually play that many spooky games, I'll be honest.
That's fair enough. This is one of those multiplayer. You're all friends online, and you're trying to survive a horrible nightmare where a big monster is trying to get you. And as the game has gone on, they've sold different DLC packs to actually include characters from different horror franchises. So, such as it could be movies like Scream or Freddy Krueger, or it could be video games like the Resident Evil 2, or maybe Stranger Things, the TV show, all that kind of stuff. So, interesting game. I've had a little play around on it, very fun. But there's going to be a movie adaptation in the works from Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. I've got no idea about casting or who's directing or anything about it. And if it does happen, it might be a few years yet, but there you go. A Dead by Daylight movie to look forward to.
Sounds good.
We've also got, yes, a reason that I was starting going, Xbox Series X, get in my living room very soon, is that Bethesda, they have delayed Starfield once again, but it is still coming out this year. It's going to launch in September on PC, Series X, and S. There's also going to be a Starfield Direct if you're interested on June the 11th, right after the Xbox Game Showcase, so you can get more information that way. But that is something that I know I want to get, and after playing some games on the S this month and last month and going, yeah, it's already starting to show its age. I do want to upgrade pretty sharpishly, and this is one of those reasons. That and Forza, I think.
Them pre-announcing the Direct as well was a really smart idea in terms of that way anyone who really wants to look at Starfield afterwards has that opportunity and they can focus on everything else that's coming out that year. And to announce it like this far in advance as well, like it saves a lot of speculation as well, because I think that one of the most difficult things that we sort of face whenever there's like a Direct or a Sony State of Play or anything like that is that a lot of people do get very, very hyped, and they do sort of like, not like make up in their own heads, but they'll get very like, I really want this thing to happen, and then they'll say, I really want this thing to happen, and then someone will post a rumor or like a fake thing from 4chan, and it gets everyone unnecessarily hyped up. And so, yeah, Xbox sort of going, okay, look, Starfield is going to be in a different thing. You don't have to worry about it. This presentation is going to focus on everything else, is a really good way to deal with that, I think. It's very smart.
Yeah, it's likely they're going to do the showcase and then show a trailer off and go more after that, that kind of thing. And I like when they do that. I'm reminded of I think it was Nintendo Direct for one of the E3s, and they went through and they did a normal Nintendo Direct, and then at some point they showed off some Ultimate Smash Brothers, and then went, by the way, we're going to get a separate Smash Brothers Direct after this. So, and that was a really cool thing to watch as well. But yeah, I know what you mean by the hype, because you can literally get studios come out and go, hey, just so you know, this is all dedicated to indies, or this is all dedicated to third party. And then they're all there going, new Smash Brothers DLC, Legend of Zelda when, all that kind of stuff. So people go crazy in those things.
Yeah,
so it's good to set expectations.
The meme I always want to make, but I never have the time or the artistic skill, is like, what's your source? My source is, I want it to be true, so therefore it is.
Right. Spoke about Hogwarts Legacy a couple of times in the last few weeks, and I know a lot of people that have played this game and really enjoy it. I know a lot of people that are looking forward to this game, either for themselves or for kids, but do not have a modern day console. They have either the Xbox One or the PS4, and I've quite happily said to those people, hey, it's coming out in April. And now I've lied to them. Thank you, Warner Brothers. They've now pushed back the game on the previous generation, so that is going to come out on May the 5th now. So if you're looking forward to the previous gen version of Hogwarts Legacy, that's how long you're waiting, an extra month.
You've been enjoying that though, haven't you?
Really enjoying it. That's in the catalyst to be one of my games of the year, most likely. It's the best Fable game I've ever played.
Yeah.
So,
well, I hope the developers of Fable know that. They're going to get you in and be like, we need to know the secrets. How is this game good? Everyone forgot. It's been so long. Fable 3 was 12 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny because like Fable, I absolutely loved Fable, and when they did Lost Chapters, and I really liked the Lost Chapters, and I got so hyped for 2, and then when I started playing 2, I went, when's this gonna take off? And then you get to the end, and I went, oh, that was it. And thanks to DLC expansions and stuff, kind of kept it alive for a bit and kept me enjoying it. And then when 3 was being made, again, I fell for the Molyneux chat up. I went, oh, yes, this is going to be amazing. And then started, oh, no.
Yeah.
Did play the hell out of it, but just never enjoyed those as much. But always get excited for the sequels. And there is a new Fable in the works from Playground Games. I'm really interested to see how that's going to be, especially because they had that Fable game that was going to come out on Xbox One that was meant to be like a launch game, and they got pushed back, and it was going to be a free-to-play, and they kept changing what that game was going to be, and I tried it in beta, and or in alpha, sorry, and one of the things was, wow, they've really taken the world that you know from the previous games and made it look amazing. Shame about the gameplay, though. And
are you allowed to say that?
I don't know. It's been so long. I don't think Microsoft's going to come bashing down my door at any point, but we'll see.
Can't pay will take it away and
Just
just
checking.
like, we're here to reclaim all your knowledge about this ND8 game.
We've come to take your Xbox and all your games. Get in the attic, get the other Xboxes down as well. And all your 360 games, give them. I'll have that copy of Fahrenheit on Xbox. Give me that too. Punisher, give it.
You've been playing David Cage games. Oof. No, you know what? We'll leave you with those so you can think about what you've really done.
But yeah, I've been very excited by the idea of a brand new Fable game and returning to that world. But now I've played Harry Potter. It's kind of, it's not Harry Potter. It's Hogwarts Legacy. It's like 100 years before Harry Potter, but
you're
it's
not
kind of
bored
set
yet,
a high bar for
Harry.
me.
Anywho, you're a sparkle in the eye of the milkman, Harry.
So sad news. Lince Works, they are the studio behind Aragami and Aragami 2, which I don't know if you know that game. It's a kind of stealth third-person ninja game. A lot of running around and stabbing people in the dark. Really, I think I reviewed the first game on this show. Really, really enjoyed it. The second one came out, and I kind of looked at it and went, it's the same, but you got multiplayer now. Never got round to doing that one. And unfortunately, I'm guessing a lot of other people did, because they're closing their doors down next month and pausing development on all future projects indefinitely, assuming they're going to shop around to different studios and things. Unfortunate that, because Aragami was a really good game, and it would have been interesting to see how they, because that was a PS4 game, it would have been interesting to see how they get along in the current generation.
It's always sad when a studio closes down. Like, that's just the sad reality of it, is that sometimes, it just doesn't work very well. Like, the one thing that can be lucky for some of them is, like, if they're a second party developer or something, they can be like folded back into the company. And, sometimes people do fold back into the company. It's not because the company's failed or anything. It's just because, they want to retain the talent. It's a reshuffle, But no, it's always a shame when companies like that close down. And even though I didn't play their games, there's so few stealth games in the market as well that are like pure stealth, rather than, here is a 5-minute section of the game, please do a sneaky bit. Also, all the enemies aren't designed to understand what stealth is. So the moment you move across the invisible line, every enemy in the area knows where you are. The Last of Us Part 1. I mean, what? I didn't say anything. But yeah, no, it's always sad, and I wish all those people the best. Although, hopefully, in the video game industry, they land on their feet quickly.
And also, something that completely threw me off and took me by surprise. I don't know if you know this, on our Discord, we have a little room about the Fantasy Game Critic League thing that we do. And it's, I think it's about 7 of us playing this, but we've all made a fake game studio or game company, and we have to pick the games and that are going to have the best scores and the worst scores and all this kind of stuff. I kind of just let the site pick mine and ended up with a pretty decent listing. Octopath Traveler 2 in there, by the way. Did me a very, very good score.
Yeah.
And it's all based on Metacritic scores, and your points are tallied up at the end of the year. And it's kind of like a fantasy football for games critics. And because of that, it constantly updates with new games that are going to come out and scores and all these kind of things. And all of a sudden I saw pop up Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 4 or something like that. I went, wait,
Budokai
what?
Tenkaichi or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went, hold on. I like those games. I've played those games. Wait, what? Because with the massive success of Dragon Ball Fighters and the less success of Kakarot, but I really didn't think they were going to return to those games. And there's a 4th one. So this got announced at Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2023 over in Japan, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And now another reason to go to Japan. So currently the new game is in development. They kind of did the nostalgic thing where they show a little CRT TV and the old games, and then suddenly it flashes to the new game, the new model of Goku and stuff, and it looks really, really cool. So that was interesting, I thought. And I'd be no idea of a title or a platform or release window or anything like that. It's Dragon Ball Sparkle 4, I think, something like that. It's being touted as because in Japan they called it Sparkle.
Oh.
But there you go. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to playing that with you as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I think I'm out of Dragon Ball. Like I'm not up to date with Super. I stopped watching that. Like I can leave that in the past now, and then something like this happens, and they pull me back in
Just when I think I'm out, they Kamehameha me back in.
through the chest.
Yes.
And got a hole in my chest.
What's his backlog level?
Goku.
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, all those memes.
Yes.
I can't think of a single meme to the top of my head now. Goku's a deadbeat dad. That's a good one. I like that one. He's always neglecting his son.
Oh.
And finally this week, you may have noticed if you got a PlayStation 5 that a big update went out this week with a bunch of quality life improvements. One of my favorite being, the controllers can update wirelessly now. You don't have to plug them in. So that's good. The big one a lot of people have been waiting for, myself included, is that Discord chat has now been finally integrated into the PlayStation 5. So you can now share your voice channels with people on PC, Xbox, and mobile. One big cohesive unit, which is great because there are cross-play games now, and it's good to have multiple ways of speaking to people that isn't just the in-game chat, which tends to be infinitely worse than setting up a party.
That's good news. Like I mean, to be totally honest, I don't really use any of those features. I have my PlayStation 5 controller like plugged in pretty much at all times because I just basically lie in my bed and play games. So, and the last time I played multiplayer winningly was like, I think when Splatoon 2 came out. So a lot of really good features for a lot of people, which is unfortunately not for me. And I don't believe in object permanence, so therefore it doesn't matter.
I mean, it would be cool when whatever the next Nintendo console thing is, that they also integrate Discord in there, just so I don't have to use the silly mobile chat. But we've used Discord for Switch, which means either cramming an earbud under your headphones so you can hear both at the same time, or other ways.
Yeah.
I used to like the way I used to route everything through my mixer, and then I could use this setup while I'm playing games, and it would be things. This was on like the PS4 era, and I'd jump in and play Destiny, and everyone suddenly goes, "Your audio sounds really good," because I've got a gigantic condenser mic on a boom arm while I'm playing video games. Yeah, I miss that setup.
Just do it. That's a future podcast. You and Dan podcasting while playing Destiny.
Yeah, that could be fun. Right, we've got a couple of big headlines, two in fact. There was going to be the Capcom showcase, and I didn't realize that's actually like 4 hours after we record. So that'll be next week if there's anything big on there. I've got a feeling it's all going to be Resident Evil Remake 4 news anyway.
Almost definitely. I hope that they at some point announce more Ace Attorney stuff, because that's always been my favourite Capcom thing. And I've literally been having discussions with people in the office for like the last week about how great the Ace Attorney series is and guiding people into playing that. So if you like visual novels, Ace Attorney, really good.
I'm hoping we get a announcement of an open beta for everyone to try Street Fighter 6 on, because that game is fun and with a few more features that's been made available. I mean, I hate speculating on something that's going to come out before the show comes out. So I'll leave it there. But I'm excited to see what that comes through that. Although I've got a feeling after the last one, it's just going to be all Resident Evil-y stuff.
Yeah. In future, if you do predictions, you should just have like a ding or an after all the predictions, like in editing and retrospect.
Well, that's the thing, because if I go to the soundboard, I mean, we have two things for fails. We've got a buzzer and we got a horn. But we don't have anything for correct or right, because it's me, Tim, and Dan. But I do have the bell.
There you go.
I do have the E3 bell.
There you go. It's the E3 bell.
Which is not a soundboard, physical bell. So there we go.
There you go. That's going to be a fun edit for you later.
Yes. What we do have is the Paradox Announcement Show 2023, which I'll gloss over a little bit just because there's not a lot of stuff we really cover on this show. But I will say, if you enjoyed City Skylines, you will be very excited that there is a City Skylines 2 in the works, and it's going to come out this year. We don't know when, just this year at some point. And that will be on PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series and PC. From what I understand from Tim playing that game, from a lot of people I know playing that game, if you like SimCity, this has eaten its lunch, and you will probably want to play this.
Fair enough.
We also got, so these are the ones where I'm not going to know too much about, but Crusader Kings 3, there's an expansion revealed called Tours and Tournaments. There is the Lamplighters League, which was announced, which is a new turn-based strategy game. Europa Universalis 4, which has a new expansion called Domination. We don't have dates on any of these, by the way.
Okay.
That's why I'm just listing through them all quick. Surviving the Aftermath has a new expansion called Rebirth in the works. And also we got Paradox Arc. They showed off 2 new titles, which is a sequel to Knights of Pen and Paper, Knights of Pen and Paper 3, Macabellum, which I actually do want to check that one out, and an expansion to Across the Obelisk called The Wolf Wars. There is also a new expansion for Stellaris called Stellaris, Overlord, and Stellaris, which will be called First Contact, if I got that right. That is going to come out on consoles March 8th and then on PC March 14th. And there is a new project in the works called Life by You, which was teased. But if you hang around for March the 20th, there's going to be a full reveal on that game. So wait for that point to see what the heck that is about.
Nice.
But the biggest news out of that lot, I think, would be the City Skylines 2. Because that's the only one I know about.
Those games are absolute time sinks. I know people who really enjoy Crusader Kings 3, who basically spend hundreds of hours playing that thing. And same for City Skylines. Like, say what you want about Paradox, I don't really have an opinion, but they seem to make incredibly addictive time sink games. So more of those can only be a good thing for them and a bad thing for other people's free time.
Last bit of news, and this one's interesting because it keeps coming back up again. You may remember a while back, it's got to be over a year now, we made the announcement that Xbox, Microsoft are looking to acquire Activision and stick them in their big roster of studios that are going on at the moment. And there seems to be this big kind of tit for tat back and forth between Sony and Microsoft ever since, where Sony are arguing, hey, unfair business practices. If you take on one of the biggest gaming companies available with some of the one of the biggest games in Call of Duty, then they are at an unfair advantage. To which Xbox have then gone, no, we're going to honor our contract with PlayStation. We're going to keep this game going. And then PlayStation have then come back and gone, yeah, but after that's been honored, then maybe you will take that game away from us and it will only be available on Xbox platforms. To which Microsoft counteracted and gone, it will be available on Nintendo. And it's kind of keeps going back and forth like this. And the latest one that Sony have gone ahead with is, so this is reported from The Verge. They've submitted documentation to the UK's Competition and Markets Authority saying that Microsoft could do a variety of moves to make the Call of Duty franchise on the PlayStation unappealing to play on. And that includes things like raising the price of the games, prioritizing the development of the Xbox version, or releasing a buggy build of the games on PlayStation. And that's interesting to me because if you remember a while back on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 era, those games came to Xbox 360 first. I think they came day and date to both, but any DLC or map packs, all this kind of stuff, always came to Xbox first as a timed exclusive and then went to PlayStation. Then when we got to the PS4 era, at some point, PlayStation acquired those rights and vice versa. Anytime any DLC stuff came out, you got an exclusivity to PlayStation. Now that Xbox are looking to own Activision and own Call of Duty, PlayStation's basically accusing them of doing what they do and have been doing for many years. It's a very interesting back and forth. And I don't think Sony's going to successfully stop this acquisition of Activision, but they're going to keep trying while doing stuff that makes them seem very pot calling kettle black at the same time, like acquisition of Bungie, for instance.
It's a very interesting game that they're both playing in terms of, I'm trying to be very diplomatic because obviously there's quite a lot of Square Enix titles that do come out on PlayStation and on Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So I always think that these things are very interesting. I remember with the Epic versus Apple lawsuit, there was quite a lot of things where I think ultimately what happens is they will try and drag the other side through the mud in court because One, it's a PR game, and two, because they are trying to convince a judge and potentially a jury to vote the way that they need to. And whether that stuff is true or not is, it sounds like what Sony have done is they have basically listed hypotheticals. I don't know if they truly believe that those are things that would happen, but, technically anything is possible in these situations. So it's very interesting. I can't wait to see what happens, because I think regardless of whether the acquisition goes through or not, it's going to be a very interesting time in video games, and this is going to be one of the things that we talk about for years to come. I don't think it's going to be solved as quickly as people think it is either. These things take a lot of time.
Once again, I've stated on many times, like, I've kind of got a displeasure of gigantic corporations picking up gigantic studios. I would much rather build up your own studios in-house. And I know that's kind of gone weird for Xbox. They have built up big studios just to either fold them or rename them or put them in charge of one game specifically. And now they're having issues with those studios and, stuff that you see in and out of the news, whether it is true or not. And with the idea of picking up, and it kind of makes them go back on what they've said in the past, where there's been like Game Pass. All of our first-party games on Game Pass, any of our first-party games will come to Game Pass on launch day. Excellent. That sounds great. Unless you buy like a premium pack and get it early or whatever. Then they go, okay, we've bought Bethesda. Ooh, all the Bethesda games come to Game Pass day one. And it's the same thing with Activision, picking up Activision. And then it's like, oh, cool. So all the Call of Duty games, or Diablo, which is the most recent one that's going to come out, are they going to be free on Game Pass? Go, no. Can't tell you what, technically first party, but no, we're not doing that. It makes them seem, I know, policies change all the time and things change. But when you come out and you say something and then you change it a little bit later, it looks odd,
The only real opinion I have of Game Pass is I feel like the smartest people in the world could sit me down for a week at a conference where it's 9 to 5 and every day they explain to me how Game Pass makes money for Microsoft and for the developers. And I'd come out of it going, no, you're going to have to run that past me again. How does it work? How do they make money?
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism of them. It's like with Netflix, where it's just like, I just don't understand how Microsoft makes such money from this, that they can throw money at people to make games like day one, and for those games to then be profitable to then continue being Game Pass day one sort of thing. I don't understand it, but that's probably just my brain being dumb. So
it's when things happen, like I got a year free of Game Pass, and then I played so much Sea of Thieves that I have never paid for any of the content, haven't bought it or anything like that. Just I played so much in that 1 year. I'm wondering, how is this a good deal for them? But I'm sure it has to be in some way, and I don't know how it works.
They've given me another offer for 3 months for £1. I'll probably do that at some point.
Ooh.
They basically send me that offer every year, and then I go through, I play all of the games that I want to play on that, and then I don't renew it.
It's like a dragon.
I already played and beat them all. But
if you could do it again, but this time in POG form. I mean, Xbox form.
I have been meaning to play Yakuza 4 again, so potentially. Although that is also on PlayStation Plus Extra, so...
Right. We will leave it out there before we start getting too much inside baseball on video games and getting you in trouble.
Yeah.
So we will wrap the show up. But if you can just humor me for a moment, Ed, I've got to do some plugs and things. So I will
did
say
some
first
plugs.
of all,
it's only fair that you do some.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, and it's my show. So
yeah.
While Dan's away, it's my show.
I'll allow you to do the plugs for your own stuff, Chris.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Love you, babe.
Anyway, yes. So if you have enjoyed our show, there are several ways you can support us. The first way is by buying some merchandise, which we've got T-shirts with Dan's face on it. We've got T-shirts with video game stuff. We've got Big Red Barrel stuff. We've got Tabletop Tuesday stuff, and they are available over on tpublic.com/store/BRB. And also, you can go and support us by going down to the Loading Bar on a Tuesday night in Stoke, Newington. That is where we play. We play tabletop. Well, not me, but Tim and all the people that turn up. They all go there. They have a nice couple of drinks and a bit of a chit chat, and they all play board games together and tabletop games and card games and all this kind of stuff. And they might have a featured game that night. They usually do. And whatever that featured game is, if you play it, you will be entered into a prize draw. And at the end of the night, Tim will randomly pick a winner and they will win a copy of that game, which is usually a really good deal because I've never won a game. I'm not allowed to. I'm part of Big Red Barrel, so I'm kind of disqualified from anything like that. But when I've chatted to people, they've been playing the game with them, sat down, played it with them, and then at the end of the day, they've won this 80 quid board game and gone, what the hell? I came in just to have a drink and a chit chat and I've won a game. That's amazing. So that's usually they're all really good prizes, but sometimes you can make bank on those things. Especially if you rig the system. You got to go to Tim. None of this is true. You can't do any of that. So yes, I don't know what the featured game is because Tim didn't leave me any notes as he is known to do. But the other way you can support us is by giving us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. It could be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use. Leave us a review. That will get back to us through algorithmic kind of ways. It might help us in different charts and what have you. That'd be great. Love if you could do that. And the final way that you can support us is by going over to, of course, bigredbarrel.com. Over there, we have a comment section on this here podcast episode. You can comment. You can talk to us. You can look at our Discord, which we have a link to on bigredbarrel.com. We also have Facebook and Twitter at Big Red Barrel, and we have a YouTube at Big Red Barrel TV. By the way, coincidentally, if you do watch us on Big Red Barrel TV on YouTube, please subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button because I think like 20% of our watchers are actually, our viewers are actually subscribed and the rest are just finding us randomly. So that'd be great if you could stay on that way. You'll get notified when new episodes come out.
If you've reached this point of the podcast and you're still watching, please subscribe.
Yeah. I mean, if you've reached this point of the podcast and you're still watching or listening, then fair play.
Statistically, nobody does.
Yes, all those ways that I have mentioned, you can get in contact with us. You can go over there. You can give us feedback on the show. You can give us suggestions of games to play or maybe changes that we should be making. Like there's been things that we've introduced to the show, like the video component, the chapters, all these kind of things that get suggested. We do take on board and in a lot of cases have implemented. So
you should have more Ed on the show. Who said that?
Oh, more Ed on the. Oh, what crazy. That was someone just broke in and said that, and I can't believe that. They just broke in and gave me a suggestion of putting Ed on the program. And look, they're going through the window. They're off. They're off into like a thief in the night. Can't believe it.
They must be
what
a very
suspense.
Big fan.
And EastEnders is there too for some reason. Oh, and an eagle. Good. I'm glad we did. Oh wait, they're coming. Hold on. Forgot their coat. Mate, you can go through the same window. You don't have to keep coming through different ones. He's just off. I've got a lot of windows behind me. Get away, you. Oh no, he's fallen to his death.
And it turns out it was Tim all along.
Kid. Oh, hold on. Tim. I've got to scroll all the way back for this. Here he is.
Hello.
Excellent.
Tim, what did you think of the episode?
Thanks. Yeah, good. Did you find it fun, Tim? Did you like it?
No.
Oh. No. Anyway, so I'm going to have a conversation for soundboard. Humor me. So what are you up to tonight, Tim?
Poke it out or pull it back in.
Oh, okay. What happens when you do that?
Something's gone wrong.
Oh no.
I'm not sure I can get my fist in it. Oh, that one will do it.
Good. What are we doing?
I think we're wrapping up the show.
What was I saying? Oh, yes. You can ask us questions on any of those ways. As always, show notes will have links to everything that we've, all those. So you know how this works. We've been doing this every week.
Do you want to do this? Did you
let's
want
go.
to do a question this week? Get through your list?
I don't know. You put a lot of questions out there. Let's have a random one, because then that takes away from them questions, and it's a lot of Ed. Should we just do one of your questions?
Yeah, let's just do one of mine.
Okay.
I'll answer
Ed
my own
asks.
questions. I interview myself all
Here we
the
go.
time.
Ed asks. He says, "I have a question. How often do you feel yourself
can I
completing
read
games
it?
these days?"
Can I read it?
Oh yeah, go on. You might as well, as you did the question.
Right. What question was this again? Oh, how often do you find yourself completing games? Chris!
Hold on. Guess who's going to ask us a question?
Ed.
Yeah. I forgot we had this.
Ed.
Okay, ask away.
How often do you find yourself completing games these days? And do you consider completing to be the end of the story, doing all the side quests, or 100% of the game?
I consider completing... I'm going to mute this.
Yeah, if you could, it's very distracting. What was your
games-
favourite episode of
right,
BRB UK, Timmy? I like the one where
where Coleman played with a soundboard all the way through the show.
Anyway, yeah.
So how often do I find myself completing games these days?
Yeah.
And do I consider completing to be the end of the story, doing all the side quests, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I consider completing just that, when you roll credits on a game. However, if I've really, really enjoyed a game and I look online and go, it's pretty achievable, gettable, platinum or 100% or whatever, I might go into that. Less these days. I'll try to roll credits on every game that I play if I'm really getting into it. For instance, Hogwarts Legacy. I know I will complete that game. The Last of Us, Horizon Zero, all those kind of games, I will, if it has a good story to it, I will go through and I will complete that game as best as I can. And then if it's an easy platinum, I'll 100% it.
Fair.
What about you, Ed?
Mostly.
Would you like to answer Ed's question, Ed?
Yeah, I'd love to answer Ed's question. I think Ed's very smart. I think you should answer his questions more often on the podcast.
Ed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mostly do roll in the credits. Again, it comes down to how much I'm enjoying a thing, but most of the time I will just roll credits. I'll try and do like all the side quests if I can. Like, just because, especially in like RPGs and stuff, it helps get to the end of the game quicker in terms of like, leveling up and stuff like that. I very, very rarely 100% stuff. Like, the last thing I 100%ed was Paranormasight, The Seven Mysteries of Honjo, because to get to the ending, you pretty much have to 100%
I hear that's
it.
really good.
Yeah, it's available on Steam and Nintendo Switch, and there is a 20% early purchase discount for the next couple of weeks. You should check it out.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, it's
Get that
£12.79.
plug in.
£12.79, 8 to 10 hours, in and out, boom.
I'd buy that for $1.
Well, you can buy it for £12.79 on Nintendo Switch and Steam.
I love that story.
Yes, me too. But yeah, no, I tend to just go by rolling credits. My backlog is way, way too big. I have a howlongtobeat.com.
No one told me there was going to be boasting.
Yeah. No, my howlongtobeat.com backlog is ridiculous. I think it said, the last time I checked, it was like, if I did nothing, but like if I didn't eat, sleep, or do anything else with my life, it would still take me 73 days to beat all of the games that are in my backlog. So,
Oh, damn.
yeah. And that's without stuff coming out later this year, like Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy 16. There's so many titles that I still have to get through as well. So, roll credits, unless I'm really enjoying it, in which case side stories. So, like Ishin, I did all the
Cool.
side stories, secret boss, I just didn't 100% it, because it requires like another 40 hours of grinding, and I can use that time to roll credits on a bunch of other stuff.
There you go. Thank you for your question, Ed. I hope that myself and Ed have answered it sufficiently.
Yeah, I hope so. He'll let us know on the Discord, I'm sure.
Excellent. Great. What a great episode this has been.
But I've had fun. This episode's only
I've
been for
had
an
fun.
audience of 2 people, and those 2 people are us, but I've had a great time.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, if you've had a great time, let us know in all those ways that I mentioned previous. I will say thank you, Ed, for coming on the show and filling in at the, well, it was quite last minute, but...
Yeah. You're more than welcome. Happy to be here.
This has been episode 433 of BRB UK. We will be back next week, possibly with everyone in tow. We'll have to see. But I will say for now, I have been Coleman.
I have been Ed, and you can buy Paranormasight, The 7 Mysteries of Honjo on Nintendo Switch and Steam for £12.79 for the next couple of weeks. It's a 20% early purchase discount.
Wow, putting your plug in where you're meant to say your name, that's quite chaotic, if I may say so.
Would you
myself.
say that you have been chaos?
Possibly. I was leaving it open for you to take, but there you go.
Well,
I think
what I will say,
I think
Chris,
COVID's been chaos this week.
Yeah. What I will say is that chaos awaits if you purchase Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin now on PlayStation 4, 5, Epic Game Store, Xbox, or Xbox Series.
Excellent.
Get the digital deluxe
Can I play that
to
on
get all
Steam
3
Deck?
DLCs. Well, it's on Epic Game Store, Chris. There's no news about a Steam version.
Well,
so.
I mean, technically I can play it on Steam Deck because I have that workaround.
I know nothing about this legally. Wink.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Ed, for going on. And until next time, dear listeners and viewers, goodbye.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Does have some
God,
depth
menus.
to it, basically. Like, it's got, like, there's different layers to the characters, and the zombie land seems to be coming out of the frame a bit type of thing. It probably might just be the artwork and the fact that it's got like a 3D thing, but